I wasn't prepared for this. I didn't think I'd ever have to experience something like this. I just come back from a late meeting, eyes heavy from exhaustion, mind still on work. The apartment was quiet when I walked in. No sound, no smell of dinner, just the emptiness of a home that used to feel like a refuge. I thought she would be there. Amelie always was, waiting for me with a smile, asking about my day. But tonight everything was different. I checked my phone, expecting the usual "how's your day?" text from her. Instead, it was a message from one of her university friends, Sophie. "James, I think you should know something about Emily. I'm sorry, but it can't stay hidden anymore. Call me when you get this." I stared at the message, my heart pounding in my chest. What the hell was Sophie talking about? My hands shook as I called her, panic beginning to rise. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to sound calm, though I could feel my voice cracking. "I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but Emily, she's pregnant." Sophie's voice trembled through the phone. "It's not yours, James. It's someone else's." The world went silent. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. My mind spun in 1,000 directions at once, but none of them made sense. I felt the walls closing in, the ground shifting beneath me. Who is it?" I managed to whisper, my voice barely audible, like I was choking on the words. "I don't know all the details, but I can tell you it happened during the trip, okay? Emily didn't want anyone to know. She didn't want to hurt you." I felt a burning rage build inside me. Betrayed, shattered. How could she do this to me? To us, to everything we had built. I hung up the phone, not bothering to say goodbye. The silence that followed was deafening, suffocating. I didn't know where to go, what to do. My hands clenched into fists at my sides, the pain in my chest feeling like it was tearing me apart from the inside out. Minutes passed, ours maybe. I couldn't tell. My legs carried me across the room, down the hall, until I was standing in front of her. Her suitcase was on the bed, half-packed. She wasn't home yet, but when she came through the door, I knew. I didn't need to say a word. I could see it in her eyes, the guilt, the shame, the lies. She froze when she saw me, her face pale, her hands shaking. "James, don't even say it." I cut her off, my voice cold, the anger simmering just beneath the surface. "How could you do this? How could you betray me like this, Emily? How long has it been? How long were you lying to me? I never meant for it to happen this way, James. I'm so sorry." She reached for me, but I stepped back, the distance between us growing by the second. "You're sorry? You're sorry?" I laughed bitterly, the sound foreign to my own ears. "This isn't just a mistake, Emily. This is betrayal. You betrayed me. I gave you everything, and this is how you repay me." Tears welled up in her eyes, but I didn't care. Nothing mattered anymore. I didn't want this to happen. I was confused, and I thought I could handle it. "But I don't want to lose you. I swear, James, it was a mistake. Please, ... a mistake." I echoed, voice rising with every word. "Mistake is spilling coffee on your shirt. This is something else entirely. You're pregnant with another man's child, and you're telling me it's a mistake?" She shook her head, trying to speak again, but I couldn't listen anymore. My emotions were a storm inside me, drowning out everything she said. "Don't," I said, my voice hoarse, barely above a whisper. "Don't try to fix this. It's broken. It's too late." I turned away from her, my heart slamming against my chest, each beat a reminder of the pain she had caused me. The sound of her crying behind me almost broke me, but I couldn't look back. I couldn't. I needed to leave. I needed to get out of there, away from the woman who had shattered everything I thought I knew about love and trust. I wasn't sure where I was going, but at that moment it didn't matter. Nothing mattered anymore. I couldn't just let it go. The moment I discovered Emily's betrayal, something inside me snapped, and I knew I had to get to the truth, no matter what it cost me. I couldn't live with the uncertainty, not knowing how deep this wound really went. So, I hired Paul Dawson. Paul wasn't the type of guy to ask too many questions. He was professional, efficient, and knew how to dig without leaving a trace. The first time I spoke to him, I could hear the calm, detached tone in his voice that made it clear he'd done this 100 times before. But I wasn't prepared for what came next. "Mr. Reynolds, I've got some information," Paul said, his voice low and deliberate. "It's about your wife, Emily." I could barely breathe. The moment he mentioned her name, my whole body tensed up. "What did you find out?" I asked, my voice hoarse, like I was afraid of the answer. "There's a man, David Johnson, Emily's ex. Looks like they've been in contact for a while now." "They met up during her trip," Paul explained, and my stomach dropped. David? Her ex? The name rang in my ears like a drumbeat, louder than anything I'd ever heard. This wasn't just some random affair. No, this was deeper, more calculated. "Are you telling me they were together?" I demanded, gripping the edge of the desk, trying to steady myself. "I'm not saying that," Paul replied carefully. "But from what I've gathered, they spent a lot of time together while she was away. It wasn't just a quick catch-up. This is more than that." A cold wave of nausea washed over me. I could feel the air leaving my lungs, the weight of the truth pushing down on me like a vice. It wasn't just an accidental mistake. This was planned. Where did they meet? What happened? I had to know. I needed to know. "I'll get more details for you, but from what I've been able to trace, their meetings were more than just casual conversations." "There's a lot of history there," Paul said, the edge of something deeper in his words. I could feel my chest tightening, my hands shaking as I clenched the phone harder. History. What did that mean? What was it about David that had made her go back to him after everything we'd built together? "How much more do you need?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper, though I could hear the tremble in it. "I'll need a few more days, but I'll keep you updated." I ended the call quickly, not sure if I was ready to hear any more, but deep down, I knew I had to. Nay. There was no going back now. The next few days passed in a blur. I couldn't think straight. I found myself walking around the apartment, staring at the empty space where Emily's things used to be, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. I couldn't shake the images in my mind, the thought of Emily with him. David. I couldn't get the image of her lying to me out of my head. Every time I tried to think of something else, it was there, a shadow haunting me. By the time Paul called me again, I was almost afraid to pick up. But I knew I had to. "Mr. Reynolds." Paul's voice came through the phone, steady but with an undertone of concern. "I've got the rest of the information you asked for. It's worse than I thought." I swallowed hard, preparing myself for whatever he had to say. "What do you mean?" "They've been meeting up for months, James, and it's not just that. Emily has been spending time with him under the pretense of catching up. But the truth is, they've been reconnecting in a way that goes beyond friendship." I felt the blood drain from my face. A part of me didn't want to believe it, but another part already knew. I could feel the walls closing in. "Is she seeing him again? Like really seeing him?" I asked, my voice cracking. Paul paused. "I don't have all the details yet, but from the evidence I've gathered, it's not just emotional. She's been lying about a lot of things, James, including why she went on that trip in the first place." I sat down on the edge of the bed, my head spinning. Why did she go? "To be with him," Paul replied simply. "It was never about her friends. It was always about David." I felt like the ground had just slipped from beneath me. I couldn't even bring myself to process the weight of his words. How could Emily do this to me? How could she betray everything we had for someone from her past? "James," Paul's voice broke through the fog in my mind. "I know this is hard, but I think you need to hear everything. You need the truth, no matter how painful it is." I didn't know how to respond. I didn't know how to face this anymore, but I realized something in that moment. I had to. I had to face it all, because this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about everything I thought I knew about her, and the life I thought I was living. "I'll be in touch," Paul said quietly, and I hung up the phone without another word. I sat there, alone in the quiet, trying to make sense of it all. But all I could think about was the betrayal. Emily had chosen him, and now I had to figure out how to survive this. I wasn't sure what I expected when I decided to confront her. But the moment Emily walked through the door, I knew it was going to destroy me either way. "James," she said softly, her voice trembling. "You're home early." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I just stood there, the weight of everything crashing down on me. "Why didn't you tell me the truth, Emily?" My voice came out lower than I intended, but it was laced with all the anger, confusion, heartbreak I couldn't contain anymore. Her face went pale. "What? ... What are you talking about?" She took a step back, as if I had slapped her. I threw the phone down on the counter, the message from Sophie still glowing on the screen. "Don't lie to me. I know everything." Her breath caught in her throat. She backed away, eyes wide, like she couldn't believe I knew. I felt a coldness wash over me. I wasn't prepared for her denial. Part of me had hoped she'd tell the truth right away, but that was too much to ask. James, please. I don't know what you think you know, but you've got it all wrong. I stepped forward, cutting her off. I've got it all wrong. Really? My voice was sharp now, cutting through the lie. You're pregnant, Emily, with another man's child. You can't talk your way out of this. Her face twisted in agony. I never meant for it to happen like this, she said, almost pleading. I was confused. I was hurt. I couldn't believe my ears. Hurt. She was hurt. Hurt? I repeated, the word tasting bitter in my mouth. You slept with him? And now I'm supposed to just understand that? You betrayed me? Went behind my... You owe me the truth, Emily. I deserve that. She sank into the chair behind her, her face crumpling in defeat. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to get this far. It was a... I almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's how you describe it. You slept with your ex, and that's a mistake. Her eyes filled with tears, and she reached out to me, her voice shaking. Please, James. I was lost. I thought maybe I could go back to the past. David was there for me, and I just I don't know. I was so messed up, but I didn't think it would mean losing you. I recoiled from her touch, stepping away, my heart hammering in my chest. You don't get it, do you? This isn't just about you trying to find yourself. This is You thought he could replace everything we had. I didn't want to hurt you, James. I swear, I never wanted to hurt you, she whispered, her voice breaking. Please forgive me. I'm begging you. Her words felt like daggers, each one hitting deeper than the last. She was begging me. After everything? After the lies? After the betrayal? How could I forgive you? I asked, my voice low and raw. I looked down, feeling my emotions boiling over. You've destroyed everything. She reached for me again, her hand trembling. I'll do anything, James. Anything to make it right. Please, don't leave me. I love you. I looked at her, but the love I once felt for her felt like a distant memory now. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal, it clouded everything. I don't know if I can do that, Emily. I don't know if I can just forget what you've done. You lied. You let me believe we were happy, and now I'm supposed to just forgive you. Her face crumpled in desperation. Please, James, please don't leave me. I was stupid. It was a mistake. Was confused. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could she stand there, acting like everything was fixable with a few words? The damage had already been done. I don't know if I can believe that anymore, I said quietly, the weight of my words sinking in like a stone in my chest. Ow! How can I trust you again, Emily? After everything you've done? She was crying now, her sobs loud and gut-wrenching. I stood there for what felt like hours, the silence between us suffocating. My mind was a whirlwind, a storm of but deep down, I knew I couldn't. I don't know if I can do this anymore, I said finally, turning my back on her. I don't know if I can stay in a marriage that's built on lies. I walked out of the room feeling the weight of the decision settling on me. As I closed the door behind me, I could still hear her sobbing, but I couldn't look back. I couldn't face her anymore, not after everything. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time I closed my eyes, it was there, Emily's face, the way she begged for my forgiveness, the way she cried. But no matter how much I tried to convince myself that things could go back to normal, deep down I knew it was over. The decision weighed on me like a ton of bricks. I had to do something, but what? I grabbed my keys and walked out of the apartment, my mind racing. I didn't know where I was going, but I couldn't stay there, not in that place that used to feel like home. I needed space. I needed to think. I ended up in a quiet cafe, sitting at a corner table, staring into my coffee. My hands were shaking, but I couldn't tell if it was from the cold or the chaos inside me. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm in my head. But all I could hear was Emily's voice, her desperate plea for forgiveness. It wasn't that simple, though, was it? I didn't know if I could ever forgive her, James. I looked up, startled. Linda Miller, my therapist, was standing in front of me. She must have seen the look on my face because she didn't need to ask if something was wrong. She already knew. Hey, Linda, I muttered, my voice barely above a whisper. I didn't expect to see you here. I come here sometimes to think, she said with a small smile. Mind if I sit? Please. I gestured to the empty seat across from me. She sat down, folding her hands in front of her. You've been quiet lately. How are you holding up? Do you really need to ask? I let out a bitter laugh, shaking my head. I don't even know who I am anymore. Linda's gaze softened. I know this is hard. Yeah, but you've got to stop running from it, James. You need to confront your emotions, not just push them down. I stared at my hands, the anger and pain still bubbling inside me. I don't even know if I can forgive her. I don't know if I can ever look at her the same way again. You don't have to forgive her yet, Linda said gently. What you need right now is to heal. You can't make any decisions until you've given yourself space to think clearly. I clenched my jaw. I'm just so angry, Linda. I want revenge. I want to make her feel what she did to me. She leaned forward, her expression serious. I get that. But revenge won't heal you, James. It won't fix what's broken inside you. All it'll do is keep you in a cycle of pain. I wanted to argue with her. Wanted to tell her that revenge would make me feel better, that it would give me the control I'd lost. But I couldn't. She was right. Every time I thought about getting back at Emily, I felt emptier. It wasn't the answer. And what am I supposed to do? I asked, my voice raw. How do I fix this? Linda's eyes softened as she sat back. You start by taking care of yourself. Focus on your emotional health first. Don't let her actions define you. You need to find your strength again before you can decide what to do about her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that it wasn't that simple. How could I move on when the woman I loved had betrayed me so completely? But as I sat there, staring at the empty coffee cup in front of me, something started to click. Maybe it wasn't about Emily. Maybe it was about me. I don't know if I can ever go back to her, I whispered. But I'm so damn lost. I don't know who I am without her. You'll find yourself again, Linda said quietly. But it won't happen overnight. You've been through a trauma, James. You need time. But right now, focus on healing. Focus on your own well-being. The rest will follow. I closed my eyes, trying to imagine a life without Emily. The thought felt like a weight pressing down on me. But I also realized something. Maybe it was time to stop holding on to something that wasn't real anymore. Thank you, Linda, I said, my voice steadying a little. I think you're right. I need to let go, even if I don't know how yet. You'll get there, she assured me. One step at a time. I sat there for a while longer, letting her words sink in. For the first time since all this began, I felt a small flicker of hope. It wasn't much, but it was something. Maybe, just maybe, I could find my way back to who I was. Maybe I could move forward, even without Emily. I took a deep breath, the tightness in my chest slowly loosening. It wouldn't be easy, but I knew what I had to do. It's funny how quickly everything can change. One moment I was trying to hold on to something I thought was real, and the next I was watching everything unravel around me. I couldn't save Emily, but I could save myself. I moved out of the apartment 2 days later. Silence in the place was suffocating, and it felt like every corner held a memory of her betrayal. It wasn't just the affair. It was everything: the lies, the promises, the things I'd once believed in. How could I ever trust her again? Emily tried to reach me, of course. She sent texts. She called. I ignored them. I wasn't ready to talk to her, not after what she'd done, not after what I'd discovered. But then there was Kyle. The truth about him and Emily didn't stay hidden for long. Soon as I walked out, I knew things were going to get worse. I had no idea how deep Kyle had been involved. Sure, I'd always suspected there was more than just friendship between them, but to see it all unfold, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I heard the whispers before I saw the fallout. The office, where Kyle and I had worked together for years, was buzzing with talk. The day I left, I caught wind of it. He'd been suspended for inappropriate behavior, and rumors about him and Emily had started to spread like wildfire. When I walked into the office the next morning to pack up my things, I saw Kyle sitting at his desk, his face a ghostly shade of pale. He wasn't the confident, cocky guy I once knew. He was broken. James, he said, his voice low, almost apologetic. I didn't know what to say. What could I say? He wasn't my friend anymore. He'd crossed that line, and now I was standing in the ruins of what had once been a solid friendship. You want to tell me what the hell happened? I finally asked, my voice tight. Kyle looked away, unable to meet my gaze. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It just happened. Did you ever think about the damage you were doing? To me? No? To us? I spat, feeling the anger surge through me again. I wasn't thinking, Kyle muttered. I was stupid, Emily. She made me feel like I mattered again. I almost laughed. You're pathetic. You've lost everything, Kyle. Everything. I could see the guilt in his eyes, but it didn't matter. It was too late for regret. I turned away from him, but his voice stopped me. I'm sorry, man. I truly am. I looked back at him for a moment, but there was nothing left to say. I couldn't save him. He was already drowning in the mess he'd made. When I got back to my new place, I felt numb. My mind was still reeling, and my heart, well, it wasn't in pieces anymore. I didn't even know what was left of it. I focused on work, trying to fill the hole with something. Anything. But it didn't work. The emptiness lingered. It always did, no matter how hard I tried to ignore it. Emily wasn't the only one who had lost everything. Kyle had too. I found myself thinking about her, though, Emily. How was she handling it? She hadn't been the same since I left, but she'd tried to pull herself together, at least on the surface. I could tell by the messages she sent text after text, voicemail after voicemail, but I couldn't bring myself to listen to any of them. She wasn't the person I thought she was, and as much as it hurt, I had to accept that. She hadn't just betrayed me. She had betrayed herself. I heard through the grapevine that Emily had tried to reach out to Kyle, but he'd shut her down. She was spiraling, losing control over everything. Her friends started pulling away. Sophie, the one who had told me about the affair, barely spoke to her now. Even her sister, Jessica, had become distant. I felt a strange sense of satisfaction in that. Maybe I was petty, but I didn't care. Emily deserved to face the consequences of her actions. Still, a part of me wished she could understand the gravity of what she'd done. Not just to me, but to everyone around her. I stayed focused on the things I could control: my work, my routine. But as much as I tried to drown out the noise, it was always there, lurking in the back of my mind. The betrayal, the broken trust. But I wasn't going to let it define me. One thing I knew for sure was that I wasn't going back to her. I was done. And as much as I hated to admit it, part of me had already started to move on. The pain was still there, raw and biting, but it was getting easier to breathe again. James, you've got this, I whispered to myself one night, sitting in the silence of my apartment. I had to believe it, for my own sake. The aftermath of the betrayal had left its mark on me, but I was done being a victim. It was time to take control of my life again. The days after I left felt like I was living in a fog. Everything I'd built with Emily, every shared memory, every piece of trust had shattered into irreparable pieces. I'd stopped looking at her texts, ignored her calls, and even when she showed up at my doorstep, I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. But then, something happened that shifted everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I heard the news about Kyle. I wasn't expecting it, but then again, I guess I should have. It was inevitable, really. I was at my new apartment, trying to distract myself from the emptiness with work, when I got a message from Ben. A friend of mine who worked with Kyle. It was short, to the point. Kyle's been fired? They found out about him and Emily? It's all over the office. My stomach sank. It shouldn't have surprised me. The affair wasn't a secret anymore, not even in the office. I knew Kyle had been too cocky, too careless with his connections to Emily, but still, the news hit harder than I expected. The next day, I ran into him at a local bar. He was sitting at a table in the corner, staring into a half-empty glass of whiskey. He looked like a different person. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by a hollow, defeated look. I took a deep breath and walked over to him. Kyle. He didn't look up right away, but when he did, there was no trace of the arrogance that used to mark his every move. James, he said quietly, almost like he was afraid to meet my gaze. I didn't expect you to come over. You didn't expect me to come over. I laughed bitterly. You think I'm just going to sit back while everything you did blows up in my face? I'm sorry, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I never wanted any of this to happen. I didn't mean to drag you into this mess. I cut him off, my anger bubbling to the surface. I didn't mean to. You slept with my wife, Kyle. You destroyed everything, and now you're sitting here acting like you didn't know what the hell you were doing. He lowered his head, his shoulders slumped. I know. I fucked up, James. I know I did. Yeah, you did. Now look where we are. I shook my head. You lost everything. Your job, your reputation, your friends, and I'm supposed to feel sorry for you. I didn't want this to happen, he repeated, almost like a broken record. I never thought it would go this far. I didn't know what I was doing, but now it's too late. I fucked it all up. I watched him, this man who had once been my best friend, crumble in front of me. He wasn't the same confident guy I had known. He was just a man full of regret, knowing he could never undo the damage he'd caused. I leaned back in my chair, staring at him. Should have thought about that before you messed with my life, Kyle. It's not just your career that's gone. You've lost your friendship with me, too. I can't look at you the same way anymore. Hell, I can't even look at myself the same way because I let you get away with it for so long. I understand, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I really do. I let out a long breath, feeling the weight of everything that had happened. I didn't feel sorry for him. I couldn't. But there was something inside me that almost felt satisfied. Not because I wanted to see him suffer, but because I needed him to understand that there were consequences to his actions. You know what the worst part is? I said, leaning in. You'll always be remembered for this. Not for the good things you did, but for this. You'll always be the guy who fucked over his best friend for a woman, and that's how people will see you now. His eyes were downcast. I know. I deserve it. I'm so sorry, James. I didn't answer him right away. What could I say? His words didn't matter. The damage was done, but I wasn't here for him. I was here to see if he'd truly learned anything from it all. He hadn't, not yet. Maybe he never would. I stood up, leaving the money for the drinks on the table. You've got to fix your own life now, Kyle. I'm done. Can't help you anymore. I walked out of the bar, feeling a strange sense of closure. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even justice. It was something deeper. The knowledge that the consequences were already unfolding, and they didn't need me to do anything else. Later that night, I got another message from Emily. She was trying again, begging me to listen. I didn't even read it. Instead, I deleted the message, and for the first time in days, I felt something close to peace. We were spiraling, just like Kyle, and it was sad to watch, but I couldn't help her anymore. She had to face the consequences of her choices. I had to focus on myself now. I had to rebuild. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't before. Maybe, just maybe, everything had fallen apart so I could find the strength to put myself back together. I hadn't spoken to Emily in days. She'd tried calling. But each time, I just turned my phone off and sat in the silence. It was easier that way. I was finally starting to breathe again, free from the chaos she had left behind. But then she showed up at my door, her face pale, eyes red from crying. James, please, can we talk? She asked, her voice trembling. I wanted to turn away, wanted to shut the door on her and pretend like I hadn't seen her. But something in the pit of my stomach told me that this was it, that this would be the moment that would either break me or set me free. I stepped aside, letting her in. The air between us felt thick, like everything we'd said and done was hanging over us, waiting to fall. She sat down on the couch, not looking at me. Her hands fidgeted nervously in her lap. James, she began, but I cut her off. No more lies, Emily. The words came out before I could stop them, sharp and accusing. I've heard enough of those from you. She flinched, then nodded, taking a shaky breath. I know I've lied, but I need you to hear the truth. I have to tell you everything. I crossed my arms, leaning against the wall. Go ahead, I said, my voice flat. She hesitated for a moment, as if she were trying to gather the strength to say the words. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. It wasn't just the one night, James. It wasn't just a mistake. I started seeing David before the trip. We were reconnecting. We spent time together. And it wasn't just about us catching up, like I told you. It was more than that. I slept with him, James. More than once. I felt the room spin around me. This wasn't just what I had feared, it was worse. So much worse. The betrayal that had been gnawing at me now had a face, and that face was David's. Why? I managed to say, though the word came out like a choke. Why him? Not come to me, Emily. We were married. We were supposed to be in this together. Her eyes filled with tears and she wiped them away angrily. I don't know why I did it. But she paused, her voice catching in her throat. I didn't think I could come to you. I didn't think you would understand. I didn't know how to deal with the way I was feeling, the way everything was changing. David was there and he made me feel ... something I thought I needed. But I see now that I was wrong. I was selfish. Hurt you, James. I'm so sorry. Her apology stung like salt on an open wound. I had spent weeks replaying the scenes in my head, imagining all the lies and half-truths. But hearing her finally admit it, hearing her finally say the words out loud, was like the last thread of hope I'd been holding on to snapped. I'm sorry, I repeated, my voice flat. That's it, Emily? That's your explanation? I don't need your apologies. You took something from me. You took my trust. You took us. She shook her head, her face full of regret. I know. I can't undo it. I can't change what I did. But please, James, I don't want to lose you. Can't lose you. I stood up, feeling the anger rise in me once more. You've already lost me. You lost me the moment you decided to go behind my back. You don't get to come back and pretend like everything's fine. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Please, don't leave me. I'll do anything to fix this. I'll change. I'll make it right. I looked at her for a long moment, the pain threatening to choke me, but I forced it down. I had already given her everything, and now I had nothing left to give. You don't get to fix this, Emily, I said, my voice calm but firm. I've tried. I've tried to make sense of this, to find a way to forgive you. But I can't. I can't pretend that everything will be okay. Not anymore. Her face crumpled as the tears started flowing. James, please. I love you. I loved you too, I said softly, the words cutting deeper than I wanted them to. But that's not enough anymore. I can't keep living in this mess. I have to move on. I have to heal. She reached for me, but I stepped back, shaking my head. I can't do this with you anymore. For a long time, we just stood there, the silence between us louder than anything either of us could say. And then finally, I walked away. I left her standing there, the last remnants of my hope shattering with every step. I wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, I felt the weight of the world start to lift from my shoulders. I was done being broken. It's funny how quickly the pain starts to fade. It's not all at once, not in some grand dramatic way. But one day, you wake up, and the weight of it isn't sitting on your chest anymore. You start breathing again. Start moving forward. That's where I was now moving forward, slowly but surely. It had been a few months since I let Emily go, and though the first few days were hell, I found something along the way I hadn't expected. Peace. I'd focused on rebuilding myself. Started running again, something I hadn't done since before everything fell apart. It wasn't much, but it was something that made me feel alive, like I was taking control of my life again. And slowly, I noticed things starting to shift. I was happier, more focused. I started doing the things I loved, things I'd forgotten about when I was tangled in that toxic relationship with Emily. It wasn't easy, but nothing worth having ever is. The call came on a Tuesday, James. Emily's voice was trembling, and I couldn't help but feel a sharp pang in my chest, though it wasn't as raw as it had been before. Emily. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. What is it? I just... I need to say I'm sorry. I need to say it to your face. I know it's too late, but I can't live with myself anymore. Her voice cracked, and I could hear the tears in it. Stayed silent for a moment. Part of me wanted to say something harsh, something to tell her how much she had hurt me. But I'd done enough of that. It was time to let go, for real this time. Emily, I've heard your apologies. I've listened to all of them, but they don't change anything. They can't bring back what you took from me. My voice was steady now, even though inside, a storm still raged. I wasn't the same man who had begged for her forgiveness months ago. I know, she whispered, her words barely audible. I don't expect you to forgive me. I need you to stop, Emily, I interrupted, my voice sharper now. You don't need to apologize anymore. I've moved on. There was a long pause, and I knew she was trying to hold herself together. You've moved on, she asked, the disbelief clear in her tone. I have. The words felt like a weight lifting off me, and for the first time, I wasn't lying. She sniffled, but I could hear the resolution in her voice now. I guess I deserve that. Yeah, you do. I said it without anger, just fact. But Emily, this is over, for both of us. There was silence again, and for a moment I thought she might cry out again, beg me to take her back. But she didn't. She just accepted it. All right, she said finally, her voice small. I hope you find what you're looking for, James. I already have, I said, and I meant it. The last few months had been the hardest of my life, but they'd taught me something I couldn't deny anymore. I didn't need her to be happy. Didn't need anyone to validate me or fill the emptiness she had left behind. Goodbye, Emily. I hung up, feeling a strange sense of calm wash over me. I didn't need closure from her anymore. I'd given it to myself. The next few weeks felt different, lighter. I didn't know exactly where my life was heading, but I knew it was heading somewhere better than it had been before. I started focusing on my career again, something that had fallen to the wayside while I was in the mess of my marriage. I was getting promotions. My work was more fulfilling. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was in control of my life. I even started dating again. It's casual, nothing serious, but it felt good to feel wanted again, to remember what it was like to connect with someone who wasn't a reminder of the past. I hadn't heard from Emily in weeks, and I didn't expect to. I knew she was still facing the fallout of her actions, but I also knew she had to face it alone. That wasn't my burden to carry anymore. As the days passed, I found myself smiling more, not because I was over everything I wasn't, but because I was finally at peace. I didn't need her. I didn't need anyone but myself. And that was enough. I'd spent months running through scenarios in my head. What if I confronted Emily again? What if I took some form of revenge? What if I let her feel the same pain she'd made me feel? But now, standing here in this moment of silence, I knew one thing for sure. Revenge wasn't going to give me peace. I had learned that the hard way. Emily had tried to contact me a few more times after our last conversation. Each time, I let the phone ring and ignored her messages. Part of me wanted to read them. Part of me wanted to hear her voice, hear her explain herself again, maybe even apologize more. But I'd realized something. It wasn't going to change anything. It wasn't about her anymore. It was about me. I had spent so long being consumed by the hurt, by the betrayal, that I lost sight of the most important thing, myself. The first time I truly felt the release was the moment I decided not to let her back into my life. I had spent all this time believing I needed answers from her, that her apologies would somehow heal me, but I didn't need them. I didn't need anything from her. I needed to heal on my own. I ran into Ben at the coffee shop that afternoon, and he could tell something was different. I didn't need to explain it to him. He could see it in the way I carried myself now. The weight I'd been carrying was finally gone. "I look better," he said, looking me up and down with a grin. "Yeah, I feel better," I replied, my voice steady for the first time in months. I took a deep breath and felt a calmness inside me that had been missing for so long. "I'm proud of you, man." "Really?" Ben added, clapping me on the back. "You've come a long way," I smiled. I hadn't thought about it like that, but he was right. I had come a long way. From the pain, from the uncertainty, from the rage. "What about you?" I asked. "How's everything with Kyle?" Ben winced. "It's messy. He's trying to put his life back together. But honestly, it's too late. He burned too many bridges and the damage is done. He's lost more than just his job. He's lost himself." I nodded. I knew exactly how he felt. We had both lost something in different ways, but the loss was real for both of us. "You know, I keep thinking about Emily," I said, and Ben's eyes flickered with understanding. "Still trying to figure out what to do with that." I shook my head. "No, not anymore. She's got to deal with her own consequences now. I'm done trying to fix things that aren't mine to fix." "Good," Ben said with a firm nod. "You've done all you can. Time to focus on what's ahead." And for the first time in a long time, I truly believed it. I'd spent enough time focusing on the past. It was time to move forward. To let go of the anger and resentment that had been keeping me tied to her and to everything that went wrong. I had realized that I didn't need to feel sorry for Emily. I didn't need to chase after her regrets. She had her own path now, and I had mine. And neither of our paths could cross anymore. That night, I sat down with my thoughts, the quiet of my apartment settling around me. For so long, I had let her actions define me. I had let her betrayal shape my everyday. Not anymore. I was no longer the man I used to be, and that was okay. I had learned the hard way that closure doesn't always come from someone else. It doesn't come from apologies or answers. It comes from within. From deciding that you're done being the victim. From choosing to walk away and reclaim what's yours. And that's what I did. I let go of the anger. I let go of the bitterness. I didn't need her to acknowledge my pain anymore. I was stronger than that. I stood up, walking over to the window, and looked out at the city skyline. The lights flickered, each one representing a life that had moved on, just like mine. For the first time in months, I felt free. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't fixed. But I was healing, and that was enough. Emily's life would continue to spiral. She would face the consequences of her actions just like Kyle, and that was her burden to bear, not mine. I turned away from the window and smiled to myself. I had finally reclaimed my life, and that felt like justice.